I just always just love working with my hands. I really like to build stuff, put things together with my hands. That's just a thing. I've been doing that since I was a little kid, so construction was really my best bet. And then unfortunately, I wound up getting hurt. Oh, every day to experience pain. And when I wake up, is like shooting pains going down my leg. I have throbbing, like if you have a massive headache in your lower back. I can't do the things I want to do anymore in my life. I can't take care of my kids. I can't be with my wife the way I used to be. We can't be intimate the way we used to. I can't really play with my son the way I want to. Pick him up is hard, you know. Bend it down is hard. Like I would love to take my son outside, let him ride his bike, but it's hard. Just even walking a few blocks from my house is difficult. You know, the pain is excruciating. Just everyday life in general is just tough now after this accident. I've never been the same, and I probably will never be the same. I just want to be a normal guy, just have fun, live life, you know, and stay healthy.
Today, the Insider Exclusive goes behind the headlines in Safety on the Job, Leon Griffin's story, to examine how Seth Harris, partner at Burns & Harris, successfully got justice for Leon. On June 6, 2006, Leon Griffin, a union employed laborer, worked at a construction site that was located at 510 West 52nd Street in Manhattan. During the course of the day, Leon was asked to clean a walkway beneath a scaffold that was being disassembled. One of the scaffold's frames fell off the structure, plummeted 14 feet, and struck Leon in the back while he was cleaning the ground as he had been instructed. Leon was not provided any type of safety protection that could have prevented his injury. The scaffold should have been secured and tied during its disassembly, and Leon should not have been told to work beneath the structure that was being disassembled. Leon's injuries stem from an elevation-related hazard as defined by Labor Law Section 240, and that Leon was not provided the proper safe equipment that is a requirement of the structure. Leon's back was struck by a scaffold frame that weighed about 40 pounds. He was transported to a hospital and he underwent treatment. It was ultimately discovered that Leon sustained a large herniation of his L4, L5 intervertebral disc. After attempts and physical therapy failed, surgery was needed. He also underwent 12 months of physical therapy. Leon cannot lift heavy objects or endure prolonged periods in which he is standing or seated, and he claimed that his limitations prevent his resumption of work. He receives workers' compensation benefits. He also claimed that he cannot perform household chores or resume certain recreational activities such as basketball. A jury awarded a verdict of approximately $12.5 million in past and future pain and suffering, loss of wages, and loss of benefits. Burns & Harris is one of New York's premier construction accident law firms. These lawyers with hard hats have a long and proud tradition of representing laborers of all kinds who have been injured on the job. They are well versed in labor law and have recovered millions of dollars on behalf of injured workers. The firm has also represented union and non-union workers, laborers, electricians, carpenters, sheet metal workers, plumbers, iron workers, and steam fitters. They also represent documented as well as undocumented workers. And they work hand in hand with some of the finest workers' compensation and disability lawyers in the state. Today, the Insider Exclusive also takes an inside look at Seth Harris and his amazing courtroom skills and headline-grabbing success rate, which continue to provide his clients with the results they need and the results they deserve. Making sure juries understand how injuries can truly devastate a person's personal and professional life. Remember, he won't be outworked, and he will not rest until justice is done for his clients. His success in the courtroom speaks for itself. Hi, I'm Steve Murphy, and this is the Insider Exclusive, live from New York City at the law firm of Burns & Harris. It is my great pleasure to introduce Seth Harris to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Steve.
Tell us a little bit about your firm. What kind of cases do you generally handle?
We handle all kinds of personal injury matters, civil rights litigation, and medical malpractice. Always for the victim, though, Steve.
There are lots of types of law that a lawyer can practice. You could represent Exxon, you could represent Fortune 500 companies, but you represent the little guy. Why?
Oh, it's a lot more fun. I mean, the little guy is it's like the old story of David and Goliath.
Yeah.
And the beauty of it is when you get into the courthouse, we are equal with the largest corporation in the country.
Yeah.
It's an equal playing field. And in that way, it's a great system.
Speaking of David and Goliath cases, today we are going to be talking about a case that revolves around your client, Leon Griffin.
Yes.
Tell our audience who Leon is.
Leon's a young fella, a construction worker, who worked for several years, never with an injury, always on time for work, well respected amongst his colleagues and his co-workers, until, of course, the day of his accident.
And what happened on that accident?
Well, he was doing his usual course of duties in taking down a scaffold. Simple task. And one fella's up there removing pieces. He's down below cleaning some debris below the scaffold.
Which he was told to do.
He was under that instruction, and the area, unfortunately, was not barricaded. But of course, you know how it is. They're always trying to get things done quickly on the construction sites. Time is money. So now you have these fellows that are taking down the scaffold with a guy down below on all fours, cleaning. That was his job that day. When unfortunately, one of the guys up on the scaffold dropped a large piece of metal from the scaffold itself, landing right square on his lower back.
And what happened to him as a result of that?
Well, he of course had tremendous injuries to his back, which included spinal surgery.
And physical therapy.
Tons of physical therapy.
Yeah.
He actually can, the interesting thing about Leon is he can actually walk now without the use of a cane or a walker or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But he still has difficulties every single day of his life with pain and such. He could never do the tasks or do that kind of physical labor ever again.
Now, when this case came to you, what was your strategy to represent him successfully?
Well, you know, here in New York, unlike other states, we enjoy something called the labor law, which basically allows a worker such as Leon the right to go after the owner of the building as well as the general contractor, even if they're not directly involved. And I always find that difficult to explain to juries. Gee, why should they be held responsible? And the simple reason is this. You want to make sure that there is proper coverage for every worker that's sticking their neck out, working at a height. And here in New York City, you know we have a lot of heights, Steve.
Yeah, and so insurance companies enjoy record profits here in New York City, don't they?
They do. They're even the small mom and pop construction companies sometimes are raking in millions. So.
Now, what did you have to prove in this case?
Well, we had to prove that the incident in fact occurred the way that he said that it did. And in fact, there was nothing to contradict the evidence in this case. It was pretty clear cut. I mean, the issues of the case really came down to just how injured he was. And, you know, in that regard, they always go to your Facebook. You know, the pictures that especially the younger people today post on their Facebook page to somehow use that to incriminate your prior testimony that your actions are limited. So there were some pictures, of course, in this case that came up. But, you know, quite frankly, the jury saw right through that.
Yeah, because we don't know when those pictures were taken, right?
Yeah.
And that's really was the issue, wasn't it?
It was. The time
and they were taken prior to the accident.
Some were prior, some were post.
But
the fact that a gentleman may be sitting in a hot tub enjoying that particular moment doesn't mean that the other 23 hours of the day he isn't suffering.
In a case like this, where it's pretty clear-cut of the liability on the defendant's part, what were their defenses? What did they claim?
You know, they can't claim that he contributed to his own accident, not only legally, but also factually here. I mean, because the fellow literally didn't know what hit him. He was blindsided by this object. They had no witnesses to come forward and say he shouldn't have been there, or the accident didn't happen the way that it occurred.
Yeah.
To this very day, you ask a question, what was their defense on liability? We have no idea.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, neither did the judge who directed a verdict against the defendants before the jury even got the case.
So basically it was his word about what he was told to do, but he was severely injured. There was no question about that.
There was no question about it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. In these kinds of cases, you know, the construction industry is very big in New York City.
Yes.
I am sure there's a lot of injuries and there's a lot of lawsuits because of those injuries. How do insurance companies, because they don't like paying out these, you know, huge amounts of money, how do they encourage contractors, property owners to make work sites safer?
Well, you know, OSHA's involved and
Yeah.
other agencies to make sure that they have proper harnesses,
Yeah.
helmets, goggles, all that equipment that they're supposed to have.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they have these things on the site, and then you'll hear from a worker how they were encouraged not to use them. Because, again, time is money. And if you use a harness, maybe it takes twice as long to get that job done.
Yeah. Now
It's a big problem.
You ended up getting a pretty sizable verdict. I think $12.5 million, wasn't it?
I believe it was.
Yeah. Now, how do they determine, how does a jury come back with a $12.5 million verdict? What are the basis of that?
Well, you know, in this particular case, $5 million was
Yeah.
given for his pain and suffering, not only that he incurred to the time of the trial
Yeah.
from the incident, but also over the course of the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And he's a young fella. If his life expectancy is 50 years, you know, so what does that come out to be? $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
It actually isn't that much.
No.
But the problem is that when you start to add up the totals,
Right.
it almost becomes like an unbelievable amount of money.
Yeah.
That's why these cases go to trial, because the insurance companies don't want to pay.
All those figures are based on real life facts that you show the jury. Correct?
Sure. Oh, we bring economists in.
Yeah.
Vocational experts were brought in here. In
Yeah.
fact, the defendants, that was one of the biggest parts of their defense, was a vocational expert saying, yes, he can go back to work. He can do beats, as they call it.
Yeah.
He has a hobby of music. And I think he actually sold a beat once for a few $100s, maybe $1,000.
Yeah.
And they tried to spin that he could then create that into a whole career.
Right.
But we know what the music industry is like. I mean, he's
Yeah.
not going to be this millionaire selling beats. It's a hobby
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah. He was just doing something with his time.
Yeah, the man's idle sitting at home. He's got
Yeah.
nothing to do.
Well, fortunately, we have him here today, so
Yes.
we are going to bring him on right now. It is my great pleasure to introduce Leon to the show. Welcome to the show, Leon.
Thank you, sir.
Boy, you went through a hell of a time, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Bring us back to that day when you were told to go clean up on the ground below a scaffold, right?
Yeah.
What happened? What do you remember from it?
What I remember is I was starting to work, and the foreman told me to bend down and clean up the debris that's under the scaffold. So I started cleaning up the debris to throw it out into the dumpster. So while I'm doing it, I'm bending over because everything is low. Some of the garbage is under the scaffold.
Right.
So while I'm cleaning up, I'm throwing it away. All of a sudden, I hear a clanging noise. And by the time I looked up, it was already too late. The scaffold was already tipping down, falling on top of my back.
And a lot of pain.
Yeah, excruciating pain, excruciating pain.
What did they rush you to the hospital right away?
Not right away. For a moment, I was trying to see if I could go back to work.
Yeah.
For that first couple minutes.
How long had you been a construction worker?
I have been about 3 years.
So this was something that you liked doing?
Yes, I went to school for it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
What kind of school did you go to?
It's like union school to get into the construction trade for laboring.
So now you're at the hospital and you're getting reports that you might not be able to go back to work, right?
Yes.
And how does that make you feel?
It was like disheartening because I did so much to get in, put a lot of time into school to get in, and that was my passion because I love working with my hands.
So you were a union worker, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And now you're looking at, one of the reasons you become a union worker is because you have a good career at it, you make good money. What are some of the thoughts going through your head right now that you might not be able to support your family?
It's the worst feeling in the world, knowing that I can't provide for my kids the way I want to, provide for my wife the way I want to, and to really help my mom out the way I want to is hard. You know?
So how have the last few years been for you now that you haven't been working?
The last few years has been really hell, like miserable, mentally.
Yeah. What about your pain level?
The pain level is excruciating. Even trying to just do normal things like tie my sneakers. Yeah. It's embarrassing because I gotta get my wife to tie my shoes, you know.
You can't even tie your own shoes?
I can't even tie my own shoes.
Well, what happens when you try to bend over?
Because I'm so tall, I'm 6'4", so when I'm trying to bend down, I hear like a popping noise. It's like it's snapping. I feel like my bones is rubbing together.
Really? In your spine?
On my spine.
Now, what kind of treatment did they give him?
Well, he had a big surgery on his back. Leon, what was involved in that surgery that you, as you understand it to be?
All I know is that they had to go and remove the ruptured disc in my back and remove the L4 and the L5.
Right.
That was in my lower back.
Now, I've noticed that you have a slogan that has been written on the side of your face there. Can you show our camera that? And what does that say?
Oh, it says, "Real men cry."
Real men cry. And you told me before the show that you had that put on because of the pain that you go through. Is it daily?
Yeah, it's daily, every day.
What kind of pain pills are you taking?
Right now I'm on, they got me on real strong Oxycontins and Opanas, Percocets, taking muscle relaxers.
You have to, from the moment you wake up till the moment you go to bed, you have to take these.
Oh yeah, as soon as I wake up, that's the
How
first
do you
thing.
sleep?
It's terrible. I don't, when I might fall asleep around 5, 6 in the morning every day, you know, because it's the throbbing pain. It's hard to actually fall asleep.
Really?
Yeah, so it's terrible. I got to take sleeping pills, you know, but it's just hard. It's just hard living.
The prognosis for him is going to be like this for the rest of his life?
The doctors say that that this is basically the best that they can do for him.
Yeah. You are how old?
29.
29. A lifetime of this, huh?
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's terrible.
It's terrible.
What is your opinion of your lawyer here and how he handled your case?
To me, he's like a father figure. Like, I have a good connection with him. I don't look at him as my lawyer since we knew each other about 5 or 6 years now. Yeah. And he's like one of my closest friends now. That's how I look at him. Yeah,
one of the reasons why we like doing these shows is because most people can't afford lawyers. And yet you came to him with a case and he thought it was a good enough case so that they invested a lot of their time and their money and got a great verdict. It's what, $12.5 million?
Yes.
And that's amazing, you know, but fortunately there are people who, because I asked him in the beginning of the show, why do you do this kind of law? He says, I love it. He doesn't want to even retire. So listen, I want to thank you very much for being on the program. This is sending a message out to folks that if they get injured, you know, there are laws to protect it, and I'm sorry for your pain.
Thank you.
And we wish you the best.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Seth, great job.
Thanks, Steve.
What type of construction accidents do you handle?
Well, we handle a lot of cases like Leon's where fellows are falling from heights, as well as areas that are left a mess basically by other subcontractors that cause accidents. Even things like slip and falls on job sites. There are a lot of rules that require areas to stay reasonably neat, so the 100 fellows that are working on a building site don't get injured.
Yeah, you know, I think one of the messages that anybody watching this show should get is that if you're injured on a job site, you can get more than workman's compensation, can't you?
A lot more than workers' compensation. You can't sue your employer almost in every state.
Right.
But there's always, almost always, some third party, someone who's not your employer, who's at that job site, who may be responsible.
I am often asked this question, so I'm going to ask you this. Sometimes people are unhappy with the way a lawyer may be handling their construction accident case. Can they switch lawyers? Is that difficult to do, and how would they do that?
It's done every day. People don't get callbacks. The service in a particular law firm is not good. What you find specifically in these construction accident cases is the unions, I believe, often direct people to their own group of lawyers for reasons that I'm not comfortable actually discussing. And I always tell people, listen, I understand you may have to use the union lawyer.
Yeah.
Always come to us for a second opinion because you can switch at any time.
Right.
And that's true whether you came to us first, second, or third. If we're not doing the job that you deserve, no cost to you, you can always switch attorneys.
When you are involved in a construction accident, should everybody contact a lawyer?
I don't think you have a choice. Hopefully you contact a good lawyer, someone who works hard and reasonably quickly. You don't want these cases lasting 5 or 10 years. Now, Leon's cases could be 5 or 6 years at this point, but we've already taken a verdict.
Yeah.
A jury's already decided the case. The case is up on appeal.
Yeah.
And now we've got to file, we've actually filed briefs, the other side's filed briefs, and there's an argument date in 2 weeks on the case.
Okay, good. Well, I want to thank you very much for spending your time on this show, because without you, Leon wouldn't have got the justice that he really deserves.
And I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.